What would you do if your marriage turned cold? What if the person you once loved started looking at you like a stranger? Would you fight to save it, or quietly prepare to walk away? My name is Lisa, and I'm 28 years old. I got married when I was 23, and we've been together for 5 years. We have a small child, and lately, I feel like I'm living with a roommate, not a husband. In the beginning, everything was simple and sweet. My husband, Mark, loved my quiet personality and the way I cared for him. I didn't have much back then, no stable job, no strong skills, and my salary was only $6 million. Mark was already doing well in his company, hardworking and ambitious. He said he loved how natural and gentle I was. When I got pregnant, we decided to marry early. I stayed home to take care of our baby while he worked long hours to build his career. 5 years passed quickly, and our lives changed completely. He kept moving forward while I stood still. When our child turned 2, I tried to go back to work. It was difficult after such a long break. I applied everywhere, but no one wanted someone with no recent experience. After months of trying, I finally found a job that paid just $6 million. It wasn't much, but I was proud. I thought things would get better, but instead, they got worse. Mark started treating me differently, as if my efforts didn't matter anymore. Mark's career kept growing. His salary reached over $50 million, and sometimes even more. He gave me money for everything and said, "Don't worry about work." But the more he gave, the smaller I felt. I didn't buy clothes, didn't use makeup, and rarely went out. I told myself I was saving for the future, for a house, a car, a better life. Mark, however, wanted to enjoy the present. He liked nice clothes, big apartments, and good restaurants. He wanted me to dress better, to look confident, to spend a little. But every time he suggested it, I said, "Let's save the money." At first, he laughed and called me practical. Later, he started calling me boring. He said, "You don't even know how to live." I didn't understand him back then. I thought saving was love. I thought giving up things for our future was the right way. But while I was trying to build tomorrow, he was slowly walking away from today. Our marriage became quiet, too quiet. We stopped talking except about our child. The love that once felt warm now felt like a polite silence. About a year ago, Mark got promoted again. He wanted to celebrate with his coworkers, 8 of them who helped him succeed. He asked me to book a nice restaurant, but I wanted to save money. I looked for something simple for days, but couldn't find a place with a reasonable price. So I decided to invite everyone to our home instead. I forgot to tell Mark. When they arrived, he looked shocked and embarrassed. Some of his coworkers stayed only 20 minutes before leaving. Others barely spoke. That night, Mark was furious. He said I made him lose face, that I didn't understand how things worked. We had our biggest fight ever. I cried and said I was only trying to help, but he didn't listen. The next day, my in-laws asked to borrow $10 million. Without thinking, I said we didn't have it. Mark exploded. He shouted that he worked hard but still felt ashamed because of me. He said, "If it weren't for our child, I would have left already." Those words broke something inside me. After that, our marriage entered a long, cold winter. After that fight, we separated our money. I gave him all our savings and told him to handle everything. He rented an apartment for us to live in and gave me $12 million each month for food, bills, and our child. He paid for the rent, but his heart wasn't there anymore. He became distant, quiet, and cold. I tried to change. I started dressing better, taking care of my appearance, even giving his parents money every month. I invited him to dinner, to short trips, hoping we could start again. But every time we sat together, we said almost nothing. He scrolled on his phone, and I stared at my plate. Sometimes silence feels heavier than shouting. I missed him even when he sat beside me. I kept telling myself, maybe if I try harder, he'll see me again. But the more I tried, the further he moved away. I realized that sometimes love doesn't disappear suddenly. It just fades, little by little, until all that's left is habit. Last month, Mark went back to his hometown to handle some documents. I didn't think much of it until I found out the truth. He had given all our old savings to his mother. She used the money to buy land and a new apartment in his name. I was shocked. I asked him why he didn't tell me. He said, "You didn't help earn that money, so it's not your concern." My hands went cold when I heard that. I reminded him how I stayed home for years, raised our child, and saved every penny. He said I was overreacting and called me useless. It hurt deeply, not just because of his words, but because I knew he meant them. That night, I couldn't sleep. I looked at our child and wondered if this was what marriage was supposed to become. Two people sharing a roof, but not a heart. I started to think about what I really wanted: love, respect, peace. Maybe I couldn't fix him, but I could fix myself. I decided to stop chasing him. Instead, I began chasing myself. I started learning new skills at work, reading books, and talking to friends again. I bought a few nice clothes, not to impress him, but to feel alive. I smiled more, ate better, and focused on my child. For the first time in years, I felt proud of who I was becoming. Mark noticed the change, but said nothing. One evening, while helping our son with homework, he looked at me and said softly, "You look different." I smiled and said, "I'm just taking care of myself now." He didn't reply, but for the first time in a long while, his eyes looked gentle again. Maybe we will never be the same, but maybe we can start new. Even if our marriage doesn't last, I won't lose myself again. I learned that love cannot grow in fear, and happiness cannot come from waiting. Whether he stays or goes, I know who I am now, and that is enough.